What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Gators Online Show. This is our rapid reaction show that we do after every game. And unfortunately, we've got to break down another disappointing and disturbing Florida Gators loss. UF has fallen to number 3 LSU 20-10 in Tiger Stadium, a game that really was there for the taking. And we're going to break all that down in the next, 15 or so minutes. I am Keith Niebuhr of Gators Online. That is senior reporter Zach Albaverdi. He is at Tiger Stadium. Zach, just your general thoughts on this loss for Florida.
Yeah, 5 interceptions. What can you say? The most interceptions thrown by a Florida quarterback since 1992. This was a game where the Gators got off to the strong start that they needed. Got three and outs to open the game, had some momentum, and then the turnovers started, 2 in the first half, 3 in the second, and then the second turnover right before they went into the locker room at halftime to give LSU a field goal and the lead going into the break, and then, of course, the pick six in the third quarter. The Tigers scored 10 points off of Lagway turnovers, and that ended up being the difference in the game. I thought, once again, the Gators played well enough to win, only gave up 13 points on defense, and that was with Caleb Banks coming back and not really being effective at all, and then re-injuring his foot again and leaving the game. So about as bad as things could have gone for the Gators tonight.
It must have been surreal for Shane Matthews to call this game for the Gators radio network. He, of course, himself had the 5 interception game that you referred to, Zach, in 1992. It was at Mississippi State on a Thursday night. Florida lost 30-6. Really was overwhelmed. And at that time, they were 1-2. They went on to win, I think, 7 straight games. However, this was a game that game Mississippi State just beat Florida. This was a game, if you take away these interceptions, or it only has 2 or 3 of them, it's, back and forth to the very end. They absolutely were the difference in the game. Zach, Florida also had some costly penalties. A Lagway touchdown pass to Jaden Baugh in the first half of 87 yards was taken off the scoreboard due to a hold. Just, again, the same things continue to rear their heads at different times. Statistically, Zach, Florida 366 yards, LSU only 316, which, to your point, the defense certainly did plenty. Again, 316 yards for the number 3 team in the country. And Zach, how about this? Florida had 23 first downs. LSU only had 10. Again, if you're just looking straight at the statistics. Now, again, the great Steve Spurrier used to say statistics were for losers and assistant coaches. But if you just looked at that stuff, you'd say, hey, that's not terrible. But the terrible plays really did Florida in tonight, Zach.
Yeah, and to have an 87-yard touchdown get called back. That the last time Florida won here in Death Valley, they had a 98-yard touchdown by Tyree Cleveland. You kind of need plays like that to win here, especially at night. And for Florida to have a chance to make a play like that on a busted coverage, if the score would have counted, the Gators would have had a 10-0 lead early in the first quarter. Instead, they have to bring it back. They punt, and then LSU, after going 3 and out on their first 3 possessions, they put together a field goal drive to tie the game, and that was certainly a turning point. That was not the only holding call on the Gators, though. They were called for a penalty 4 times for holding in this game. I think they finished with 7 penalties total. Was once again an issue. Napier was asked about it after the game. Kind of didn't have criticism of the offensive line and rather an explanation for how those holding calls are happening. And he's saying that pretty much every time that it has happened, it's been on a play where the linemen are protecting and pushing in the pocket, and DJ gets outside of the pocket. And when they gets out, Florida's getting caught grabbing guys. Not really addressing, obviously explaining the technical issues that Florida's having there, but it keeps reoccurring. And these are back-breaking penalties for Florida. It seems like every time they get they get a penalty on one of their drives, it sets them back and ultimately kills it. I thought another thing in this game, Keith, that just baffled me once again for the second straight week in a row is the lack of carries and just regular involvement with Jaden Ball. He had just 6 carries at halftime. He finishes with 10 in the game. And it's not like the guy's not averaging yards per rush. He averaged 4.6 yards per carry. And I know Florida got down in the second half, and I know that they were, trying to come back. But having your quarterback, who, by the way, is struggling and threw 5 interceptions tonight, to throw 49 passes with him and only run your star tailback 10 times, that is not a recipe for success on offense. I don't care how you cut it, how you slice it, your reasoning. That should not be happening for Florida.
Zach, I agree with you. I mean, they were down after the pick 6, which we talk about in a minute. It was 13-10. The pick six happens. It's still 20-10 with 8:08 left in the third quarter. There's still a lot of game left. It's not panic button time when you're holding LSU's offense the way Florida was. I agree with you. I liked how they utilized Ball in the first half, quite frankly, in the running game, but also in the passing game, something that I thought going into the game would be needed because I was curious as to how Florida would try to neutralize LSU's defense. And they, at times, did a solid job of getting Ball the ball, 2 different ways, and kind of went away from all that. The throws from Lagway, these were not one-handed, leaping, diving interceptions, Zach. They just weren't good balls. They were ill-advised throws, I would say, all of them, I think.
And he telegraphed it. I mean, he was staring down his receivers. You could see the LSU defensive backs and players that were waiting on him and stepping into those throws. And I will give Lagway's teammates and his head coach credit, man, because every time he came over to the sideline, they kept going over there and trying to, give him words of encouragement. And nothing helped him. He said this was his worst performance of his career. He's never played like this in a football game before. And for all those wondering, thinking, questioning, where's Tramel Jones? We asked Billy after the game if he ever considered putting Tramel in just for a series to switch it up, maybe give the offense a spark, maybe just allow Lagway to step out of the action for a second and see the game from the sideline. Napier said that was never a consideration. Once again, doubled down on the fact that DJ Lagway is their quarterback, and they are going to ride him until they can't anymore. Napier was also asked after the game if Lagway's hurt, if he's still dealing with an injury, and Napier said no, not that he knows of. That his struggles really stem from all this time that he's missed in the offseason.
Florida was 1-2 at the start of last season, somehow pulled it together toward the end of the year. That team was left for dead. This team's going to be left for dead too. But this team, Zach, came into the season with much higher expectations. So I wonder how their psyche is going to hold. They legitimately thought they were a playoff contender and all that. And quite frankly, so did a lot of people listening. So did people in the media world. And now it's kind of like if they don't win next week. Now you're talking about this is the absolute ultimate make or break game for Billy Napier next week at Miami. And obviously a lot of people have already jumped away from him and said that I don't care, whatever happens, I'm done. But theoretically, they could still win. Theoretically, could still win a bunch of games here. How do they pull this together? I mean, you're around this team a lot, Zach. Can they do it? I mean, the game was there for the taking tonight. It was there. They were toe-to-toe with LSU on the line of scrimmage, had more yards, all that stuff. How do they pull it together? Can they pull it together? Well, I mean, I know you don't have an answer for that. I'm asking you the impossible question here.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help that you saw Miami go out there and just absolutely dominate a USF team that put it on Florida last week. And as Jim McElwain used to say, you're either getting better or you're getting worse. There's no staying the same. And right now, Lagway is regressing. He's not gotten better. I think that there's hope, and I think Florida is certainly banking on him eventually finding his rhythm again, and that performance and that play that he showed at the end of last season, tapping into that. But he just seems like he's gotten worse with each week, Keith, and the competition is not going to get any easier in the weeks to come. So I'm very, I'm very intrigued to see where they go from here. Because and then you go over to the defensive side of the ball again, which I thought played well again, but now they lose Caleb Banks for how long we don't know. Mekhi Barrow, who also missed this game, which he started the first 2 games along the defensive line. He's now out, and I don't know what the timetable is for his return. It sounds like from what I've gathered that he's dealing with like a lingering issue. So Florida is going to have to figure some things out and try to keep this team together and from cracking. But this is a tough one to take because they came here and competed, and they came out and had the type of start that they needed to be able to stick in this game, and they just could not capitalize, obviously, on the long touchdowns and the possessions that they had.
Just can't get anything going offensively, Zach. The final stats, Florida had 10 big plays. A big play is defined as 15-plus yards in the passing game, 10-plus yards in the running game. 10, LSU only had 7. But out of Florida's 10 big plays, I believe only 2 of them went for more than 20 yards. 2 plays of 20 or more yards in the entire game for the Florida Gators with all those athletes on the field is inexcusable, unacceptable, and shocking, to be honest, when we were led to believe that there was a certain level of explosiveness and versatility of this offense. LSU, on the other hand, had 4 pass plays of over 20 yards, 2 of over 30, and then, of course, the 65-yarder. They got more out of fewer big plays in terms of the chunk yardage. It just was a disastrous second half for Florida in the offensive from an offensive standpoint. Zach has to get going. Zach, we got to hope that Florida, things don't go sideways here. They're getting to that season on the brink. It could get ugly soon. They've got to figure out how to turn it around. We're going to have a bunch of shows for you this week. Miami next week, Florida at the Miami Hurricanes, longtime rivals. Miami riding high, Florida, another punch in the gut. For Zach Albaverdi, I am Keith Niebuhr. This was the Gators Online Show. We'll see you again Monday. Take care.